The NFL season winding down, the last week of preseason games, the start of the season around the corner. John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, joins us on 365 Sports, and we'll get a few college football and also some Astros notes in there too. Thank you, John, for your time as always. When there were 4 NFL preseason games, and in some cases there were 5, well, a couple of teams had 5, there was kind of a protocol on how you handled playing your starters, if at all. How much has that changed with the number of games being just 3?
Well, it's changed way before they went to 3 games. When I left Waco, the trip, and came down here to cover hockey, my first Oilers training camp was 1977 when they still played 14 games and 6 preseason games. Training camp was 9 weeks long. Then the next year, they went to 16 games and 4 preseason. But forever, until the salary cap era, when there were 4 games, first game would be mainly for rookies and for new players. The second game they play a quarter. Third game, stars play a half. And last game, they play 3 quarters. Made for an easy transition into regular season, playing a full game. The Oilers and Cowboys always played the last preseason game, so it was like a regular season game because the starters played so much. And I talk to a lot of those players all the time, and they don't think there are any more injuries than when they went all out in double days. They no longer have double day practices. They very seldom go all out, hit people, take them to the ground because they're worried about injuries because of the cap. Cap changed everything. And I think there's a lot of positions, especially the offensive line. Any coach will tell you the offensive linemen need a better workout in the offseason. They need the linemen together more, and the linemen need to hit. Running backs need to hit, like Josh Jacobs, when he reports before the regular season starts so he can get paid his $10.1 million by the Raiders. He runs the risk of pulling a lot of muscles. Guys can go out and they can run till their tongues drop and be in the best shape possible, but it's not the same as football shape, getting hit, getting your timing. And so I'm always interested in guys who hold out if they have the soft tissue muscles that can hamper them all season.
John, a week from today, final roster cuts down to 53, but of course it's a little bit different. By now we'd have already had a little bit of a trim and here and there, but they're going just straight from 90 to 53. Is that notable in any way to you? Is that really that big of a difference, not having a couple of prior cuts where you're eliminating a handful of guys, or do you think that's going to be just chaos, all those names coming across the wire?
It'll be chaos, Craig, coming across the wire. The people I feel bad for, the people have to type all those names in to send them out across the wire. One school of thought is you keep players that long, they get more of a chance to show their team what they can do. Now, remember, 12 of them, there's going to be 32 times 12 practice squad players. Practice squad players make $100,000. They make over $100,000. And if you're a veteran on the practice squad, you may make a lot more than that. So there's going to be a lot of guys cut, but a lot of guys are going to be re-signed. I like the fact it's done all at once, and it's going to be great for the airlines because you're going to see a lot of players crisscrossing the country going to tryouts. Everybody has players trying out every week during the season. But they're going to be scrambling because the players on your 53-man roster next week, that's going to change. You know, those guys that make the bottom 5 or 6, they got to hold their breath because there's a good chance they're going to get cut when teams bring in other players.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. It's like, isn't it? Is that in any way similar? Probably not nearly as many, but right after the NFL draft, when people start to comb who has not been drafted and they start signing them as undrafted free agents.
Yeah, they'd actually do that before the draft. Tell an agent, you know, if your guy doesn't get drafted, I'd like to sign him. And it's really better to not be drafted rather than being drafted in the 6th or 7th round, because if you had multiple teams interested in you, you can get more money in a signing bonus than you can in 6th or 7th round. And so then when the draft's going, agents getting a lot of calls, And remember, the draft used to be 24 rounds. Then it was during the season. Then it was 18 rounds, then 16. When I started covering NFL, it was 16 rounds. And then it went down to 12 and 8 and now 7. So there's all kind of players in the Hall of Fame who today wouldn't be drafted.
John, I know folks can read more over at the Sports Radio 610 website, but what have you made so far of what you've seen through a couple preseason games, whether it be C.J. Stroud, whether it be something else about the team, and how much do you actually get to learn about D'Amico Ryans, the head coach, and kind of how he operates during these preseason games?
He admitted he's working on he's working his first-time head coach, and is only a coordinator for 2 years on his game days, game management. There was a play where they had on the first series, after an interception, they had a third goal at the 1, and he should have called a timeout because C.J. Stroud let the clock run out. So then they go back to the 6 and throw 2 incompletions. And in the second drive, C.J. Stroud looked really good. He was throwing out routes on time. He was 5 of 6, 52 yards, had a perfect pass on third down, Noah Brown from the Cowboys, who might have caught it, but Xavier Howard from Baylor reached in at the last instant, made great play. Another one Brown should have caught. But so all of a sudden, people are really excited about him. He needs to play in this last preseason game because they're going to get their clocks clean when they go to Baltimore for the first game. But right now, everybody's learning. They have first-time head coach, first-time coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, and they're all trying to get their act together at the same time.
John, the Astros and Rangers have been kind of, we're
not talking about that right now. It's,
I have a column on sportsradio610.com about this exact same thing. Astros stunk it up here against the Mariners. We humiliated. They're 2-8 against the Mariners, but they bounced back and beat the Red Sox last night. Now, Yordan Alvarez can't play because he got his finger caught in the door. Kyle Tucker missed the Seattle series except for a pinch hitting assignment because he had a tummy ache. This isn't the time to be hitting your finger in the door and getting a tummy ache. Rangers lost 5 in a row. Astros have won 1 of 4. Astros are 1.5 back. Mariners are 2 back. Mariners have a 7-game winning streak. And guys, the Mariners play the White Sox, the Royals, and the A's before the end of August. I think by the end of August, the Rangers and Astros are going to be looking up at Seattle.
Rangers came out of the break and went like 12-2, made some changes. So did Houston with Verlander. But they are now in a funk. Their bullpen has caught up with them. They've lost 2 or 3 times, blown the lead. And, it's like two people who are in a golf tournament where they're both in the same group and they're even or within a stroke of each other, and a guy behind him comes in and shoots 5 under. You know what I mean? And they forget about who else is in the field, and that seems to be happening at least up until this particular time.
Astros starting pitching has been terrible. Their bullpen since August 1st has been the best in baseball with the lowest ERA. Hitting's inconsistent, but Dusty Baker's getting a lot of criticism for some of his managerial decisions and personnel moves. But it's fun. When 3 teams are within 2 games apart, that makes for a great race.
Absolutely. Hey, John, did we ask you yet about Tank Dell? If Craig, you did earlier, I'm not sure if you did. But Tank Dell had somebody in our chat room, the kid from Houston.
He was great in the first game, made an incredible touchdown catch, had 5 catches. They kept him out because he had a slight hamstring injury. That guy is the only player on the team. Every time he gets the ball, he's capable of going the distance. If Noah Brown, they signed from Dallas, starts in a slot with Robert Woods and Nico Collins, Dell will come off the bench, but it's only a matter of time before he's on the field all the time. Even though he's 5'8", 165, he's like a gnat, and he can take it to the house.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your time, John.
Thank you, guys. Sick of 'em.
Here's John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us on 365 Sports.
Yeah, I mean,